Welcome everybody, Merry Christmas. We have a special, very special bonus episode for you in this Christmas day, actually the whole Christmas week. This year we wanted to reflect on a few topics that are important for us as Scrum Masters, as Agile coaches, and of course as Agile practitioners in general. So let's dive into it. What's today about? Listen in. Welcome to this Christmas bonus episode where we explore the topics of communities. It's Community Day for the year 2022 here on the podcast, and I'll explore some of the things that have helped me be where I am today. And it's all about community. Listen in. Midway through this episode, I have a surprise for you that will for sure interest some of you and will also help you get even more into the Agile community. So stay tuned and listen to that. So how did I get to be the host of the most popular Agile podcast? The Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is the most popular Agile podcast on basically all platforms. We have just reached about 80 million unique downloads over the 7 years. And that's a little bit over 1 million downloads a year. And of course, how I got there is that I did the work. I published blog posts, I went to conferences, I went to meetups, and of course I published the podcast itself. But those, even all of that work is really nothing without the community to share them with. What makes this podcast popular is you, the listeners, who share it with their friends, or when a friend comes to you with a question, say, I remember that episode, I'll share it with you. Or there's some special episodes, like, for example, the David Marquette episode on leadership, still one of my favorites after all these years, is one that gets shared a lot, the one with Mary Poppendick as well. So there's some episodes that we share with friends, and that is the power of community, right? Things get shared. Information, lessons learned get shared, and then that gets even more popular. And it really is you and working for you that motivates me to go on recording this podcast, which started at this moment as I record this nearly 8 years ago in early 2015. But we also need to recognize that actually Agile, the whole Agile movement is here because of the communities that were formed around them. Many were local, like local meetups, for example. Some were global, like I remember in the early days of Agile adoption, the Scrum community, and then later on the Kanban community, and those two communities were friendly, competing with each other, but they were competing with each other. But it was really about communities, and these days there are the many scaling framework communities, and of course we're all part of the bigger Agile community. We do have preferences, we do have things that we like to focus on, and that's okay. My point is that Agile is here, and it has grown the way it has grown because of the communities that you are all part of. I mean, they can be local meetups. I remember when I got started, I participated. My first community event was a local meetup organized by a local company on some Agile topics. You can find a lot of meetups on meetup.com. You can go there and find the ones that are next to you, or you can just ask your colleagues. A tip is to make a list, even if the topic isn't exactly what you're looking for, consider it, because as you visit these meetups, you will start to build network. There's one common objection that I hear about going to meetups, which is that, they're so salesy. I'm going to a meetup and it's all about selling whatever the consulting company perhaps is selling. But that's okay, because that's how you start building a personal network. And if you have one, you start growing a personal network. We have conversations during those meetups. We ask questions. And of course, we find people that are on the same journey as we are. And as they help us and we help them, the community grows, the knowledge grows, and of course our personal networks grow. There are also global conferences. I mean, here on the podcast, we organize 2 conferences every year, the Agile Online Summit, which happens in the fall, and the Scrum Master Summit, which happens in the spring of every year. A big part of the work that we do for those conferences is to find people like you that want to promote others, like the track leads for all of those conferences are people that go out and find people that have a message to share. They invite them, and of course, they also choose from the submitted sessions on the session submission form. And it really is an important job. It's an important job to build communities by promoting other people's work. It is by promoting other people's work that we are encouraging others to also come forward and share their voice. And therefore, we're growing a community that has many diverse ideas. And that diversity of ideas makes us an even richer global community. But it also creates very simple, basic, and pragmatic opportunities for you to be seen by employers and being featured in some of those conferences, summits, as well as being here on the podcast is one way to get visibility and to be seen by future team members, future employers, and get hired. And in 2023, regarding these global summits here on the podcast, we're actually starting a new project. The project is called the Product Owner Summit. It's still in stealth mode, so that's why I'm talking about it here on the podcast, only for you. We are looking for a team of volunteers that will or help me organize this Product Owner Summit. If you are interested in being a volunteer, you can contact me at Vasco, VASCO, at oikosofi.com. Just send a subject PO Summit volunteer, for example, and tell me that you want to be a volunteer and why that is important for you. Why do you want to be part of this wider community? The product owner role is one of the most difficult product owner roles, in the Scrum process, as I talked about yesterday. If you didn't listen to that episode, do check it out. And because of that, we thought that it was very important for us as a podcast and as a community to give support to those people and also to the Scrum Masters who need to work with product owners by building a platform for people to share their experience, their knowledge, and how they work with product owners. So you can be a big part of our next conference. So let me know, Vasco at oikosofi.com. The email is also on the show notes. So just email me and be an active part of this community. Give back to the community by helping organize this conference. There are also many local and regional conferences. From my perspective, these are the best for building a local network that will help you with concrete things like finding future jobs, finding interesting projects. Some of these conferences are organized in cities. Others are more like region or country focused. But conferences, most important, they are not only about learning. They're about building a community and building a network for you that will help you when you need, be there, and support you. And of course, we also have podcasts. Podcasts are a great way for us as individuals to learn what is going on in the community in general. We always look for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches that have ideas to share. So if you're interested in being invited on our podcast, you can contact us at vasco@oikosofi.com. The email is in the show notes so that we will definitely invite you to be on the show and share your ideas. Although podcasts are a little bit of a broadcast medium, right? You're not really building a network when you're listening to a podcast. You are being in contact with people out there that have a story to tell, a message to share that you perhaps haven't heard about. And it's a great way to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what is happening in our community. So if you're interested, just contact us, vasco@oikosofi.com, and we'll have the pleasure to have you on the show, of course. There are also blogs. Interacting with people who write blogs, either through LinkedIn or Twitter, is also a great way to start building your network. And by the way, the people you listen to on podcasts are also on LinkedIn, and you can contact them and have a conversation. And we have our own podcast Slack, where you can build your community with other people that are already in our Scrum Master Elite community, and also with the guests of our podcast. So the link is on the show notes for you to join the podcast if you want to. Just join the podcast and introduce yourself at the general channel on the podcast. These are many ways in which we can build and grow our community within the wider Agile community. But the most important factor that I want to reiterate and emphasize is that it's about building communities. Agile is here because of the community that we have built over the years to support these ideas and to support each other, to share experiences. So I have a reflection question that builds on this idea of us being an active part of this Agile community. Here's what I want you to think. What is the most difficult, the thorniest problem that you have today? Something that challenges you. Why not ask help from the community? It can be in a local meetup. It can be somebody at work that you already know. It can also be in our Slack. You can join our Slack. Just see the link on the show notes to join. And when you ask that question about a problem that you haven't yet solved, you are both helping yourself, right? Because you're getting access to information you would otherwise not get, but you're also helping to foster that community, because communities are really built around shared experiences. The problems we face are probably shared by other people as well. And as we discuss and learn from the answers of others that others have found, we are also building a network. We are also building a community. If you want to ask me, you can join our Slack and ask me directly. And open yourself to the idea that you're not just asking about that problem, you're also building a network. You're also building a relationship. You're building a community that will help you also in the future. Asking for help, offering help is a great way to build community. So that is the reflection question I want to leave you with for this Wednesday, Christmas 2022 episode. What is the thorniest problem, the most difficult problem you're facing today? Ask the community. Thank you for listening. Now, I'm going to make a very short announcement, and then after that, we have a surprise for you. So thank you for listening to this episode and this week of bonus episodes. Leave us a comment at scrummastertoolbox.org about your thoughts on these topics that we covered today. We want to hear your perspective and also your questions. So you can send us questions. So email us at podcast@oikosofi.com. The email address is in the show notes. For now, thank you for listening. And now the surprise is coming. Right after this, we have, for the first time, the full podcast jingle. 2 minutes of upbeat, feel-good music to get you energized and excited for the day ahead. Here it comes.